So we're going to get started. The title of our session is Just a Mom is No Excuse, and we're going to be talking about professionalism and productivity. I'm Ange England, and this is Heather Solis. You want to share your blog?
Yes, my site is homeec101.com, and that's that.
Who you are. She's an author.
Yes,
She's
I'm
written
an
a
author.
book.
I have a book that came out in April. It's Home Ec 101, Skills for Everyday Living. I'm a mother of four. My stepdaughter, she's 16. I have an 8-year-old son, a 6-year-old son, and a 4-year-old daughter. I live in the low country of South Carolina.
There you go. And I'm Angela England. I'm the managing editor at Blissfully Domestic. I also have a couple of my own websites. AngeEngland.com is where I talk about blogging and writing. And Untrained Housewife is my personal blog. I am the mother of 4, and my 5th on the way, due in December. I'm not a published author yet, but I have written a couple ebooks, making money through blogging beyond banner ads, and 30 days to make and write and sell a fabulous ebook. I've got a copy of our slides if you want to take notes on your laptop instead of on just pen and paper, either way. But you can get the document open at that bit.ly link. No excuses.
The reason why we're doing this presentation is we were sitting together on a panel, we were listening to the panel, and it was a conversation about how blogs and brands can work together. And at one point, one of the presenters said, "I can't be accountable for that. I'm just a mom." And that's when I turned to Angela and I wrote her a note, and I'm like, "That's it. I'm done." And
we were kind of like, okay, she's a mom once, you're a mom 4, you're a mom 4, like, we can get it done. Anyone can get it done. There's no reason why, if we want to make a business out of what we're doing, that we can't do that in a professional way. Just like any other business that you want to be successful, the key to that is to run it like a business and to be professional about it. One of the cool things that Darren said in the opening keynote, he said, if you want your blog to be a business one day, then you need to treat it as a business today. And I thought that that was so relevant to what we're talking about. So when we look at who needs this information, if you just want to write or blog or do your online thing whenever you feel like it, when you're in the mood, when it's convenient for you, that's a hobby blog. And that's okay. I have a couple of those myself. Several domain names, too many. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to make this a business and pay off a bill or have an income generating from that, that's a business. Even if it's a business that you utterly adore, so passionate about and love, there's still a business aspect to it.
I think the most important aspect of this is the point at which you are actually interacting with somebody else as part of what you are doing with your blog. Once you involve other people and their jobs, it is essential that you act professionally.
Yeah, like Heather said one time when we were talking about this session, when a brand engages you to work with, or an agency, a PR agency, engages you to work on behalf of a brand, they're putting their job on the line. They're staking their reputation on you behaving a certain professional way. There's some benchmark criteria that we're going to talk about of what that means. So you can see the other parts. If you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm not getting a lot of paid opportunities, it's because you're not treating it like a business yet. So there's a lot of things that we can do to help. Why professionalism matters.
People talk. If you don't follow through on your obligations, it will get around. And it may not be on a front channel. It can be in the back channel. And people always say, who do you recommend working with? And if there are opportunities that come along for people like Angela or I, when we want to pass them along, because maybe it's not a good fit for me because I'm not going to blog about diapers or I'm not going to blog about things unrelated to my niche, I'll say, yeah, but I can't handle, this isn't appropriate for me, but perhaps it will be for Angela. She's got a baby on the way. This is perfect for what she's doing at this time. I would not pass it along to somebody I know who behaves unprofessionally.
Because that reflects on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. your actions impact the perception of your niche and also of bloggers in general. Sometimes I've been talking with agencies or PR reps, and one of the things that they'll say is, oh, we tried that blog thing and it was horrible. They were difficult to work with, they wrote emails that asked horrible questions, whatever. It was people who did not have a skill set to behave professionally or to know how to interact in the space that gave everybody a bad name.
And face it, we've all heard the term swag hags and how entitled the mommy bloggers are. We don't need to perpetuate that.
Definitely not. And so you have to understand that your future earnings depend on relationships, whether that's relationships with brands or that's relationships with your customers. If you are selling an info product, I have an ebook, and I am constantly not responding to emails, not giving good customer service, not providing updates with my content, then that's going to get around. People are not going to refer my book. I'm going to lose out on potential affiliate sales. That's going to impact my relationship with the customer. If it's good, it's going to lead to more opportunities, more future earnings.
Right. When it comes to professionalism, there's a few key points. Always when you're dealing with brands or you're dealing with anyone, whether it's your readers, you need to have open communication. Let's say even just something as simple as how regularly you update your blog. If you just go dead for 2 weeks, you don't leave a note, they're not going to come back. They just figure you've abandoned your site, because this happens. People start blogs all the time. How often are they abandoned? It's like
Within 6 months, usually.
it's a majority.
80%.
Yeah. You need to be accountable. If you do fall behind on a deadline, you need to own it. Do not blame your children. It's not their fault that they got sick. The people you are working with are also parents. It's just the way it is. People have careers, they have children. Just because you are a parent does not negate your ability to act in a professional manner.
Yeah. I think accountability is really huge, and one of the things that you can do is build in accountability partners. If you know that you are not very well organized, and sometimes you lose track of deadlines, and maybe you're more artistic in nature and less detail-oriented in nature, then you find ways of coping with that, whether that's having a virtual assistant or a husband who's good at sending you reminders for things. Or, you know, I'm just saying, or a wife. Sorry. Nice.
Thank you.
You know, accountability can be in the form of somebody that you're working with, a pacing partner. Heather and I make great accountability partners because we are kind of opposite in our natures and personalities and strengths. So we complement each other really well, and we're on Skype all the time. And it's like, hey, what's up? And, you know, I'll check in with her on something, and she'll check in with me on something.
Right. And then also you could do, as she's talking about working with a partner, you can have sessions where like, hey, I really need to knock this out. I've been having a hard time motivating myself. What's the project you need to work on? And like, maybe I need to empty my email inbox. Maybe she's got an article that's due in 2 hours. Hey, let's work on it for 10 minutes. We'll start. And basically it turns it into a challenge. We're going to get started on it. And just having another friend who's in the same boat is really helpful.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to reach out to your peers. Even if it's not somebody exactly like you, that's usually the best fit. Another keynote of professionalism is reliability. People want to know that they can depend on you. And if you are breaking that trust, it really is a trust aspect. If my readers are used to sending me an email with a question, and then that question gets answered on my blog, and they're used to that, and all of a sudden one day I stop answering my email, then I have broken that trust that I've developed with them over the last 3 years, and I've proven myself unreliable. Trustworthiness is hugely built on reliability, and people need to know that they can count on you to do what you say you're going to do. The other aspect of that being, don't say you're going to do something unless you're prepared to do it.
Follow through, and if you have questions, ask. And if you don't understand the scope of a project, or maybe you don't understand exactly what it is you're being assigned, it's better to ask than to fall short of what they were expecting.
It's very true. So experience and knowledge are a huge part of professionalism. When Blissfully Domestic relaunched with 100% paid editors, paid writers, and I was the managing editor over that. So I'm bringing in these new writers, and some of them were very experienced in their topic area, but not experienced as a writer. And so the first month I had one writer in particular, and I remember that she turned in her article, and then she, like the next day, emailed me. I put my article in, where is it? And I said, well, do you remember the email I sent that explained how it's going to work? There's an editor who's pending review. There's an editor who's going to review it, and that's part of the process. Her article published like 4 days later, and she emailed me again. My article's live. Where's my money? Do you have my PayPal address right? Because I checked, and the money's not there. Okay, do you remember when you signed the writer's agreement? And did you read that? Because it explained in there, we'll invoice at the end of the month and then pays, by such and such a date. And that was not her trying to be a pest or trying to be pushy or trying that was her asking a legitimate question because she didn't understand the process of working for a larger magazine site where the payments are delayed a little bit. You don't turn it around and get paid the next day. When you're working with brands, that is the same thing. There's often a 30, sometimes 90-day delay in the amount of payment. So you need to really understand the space that you're in and the process that involves, whether it's selling to customers or working with a membership site or working with a brand, doing sponsorships. If you don't understand, then find somebody who does and learn. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to say, I'm not sure whether this is something that are you holding out taxes or do I need to do that? That's another thing that I've seen bloggers fall into is they're not tracking all of that income and accounting for that through the course of the year, and then they'll get to the end of the year, they'll get to, March, and what do you mean I owe this much in taxes? When you're an independent contractor and you get $100, that's not $100 for you. That's like $60 for you and $40 for Uncle Sam, and you need to be keeping account of that so that you're not getting slammed at the end of the year with thousands of dollars of taxes or whatever it is and really suffering. So that's an experience thing. If you are not able to learn that skill for yourself or you don't have the time to, then you need to be finding somebody that you can bring in to help you with that.
We touched on the support of peers and mentors a little bit when we were talking about accountability. One of the things to watch is actually who you are hanging out with and associating with in the public space. Because if you are hanging out with those and interacting constantly with those who behave in an unprofessional manner, you do get lumped in with them. I'm not telling you to not associate with people. That's not what I mean. What I'm saying is watch your actions, watch who you continually associate yourself. It's that whole avoiding toxic people idea. Mm-hmm. And if you surround yourself with supportive people who are excited about your goals and have goals of their own, you'll find you'll go a lot further.
Definitely. So this is my favorite part, the productivity, the how do you get it all done part. I get asked that a lot because, and I know Heather does too, she's got tons of projects going on, multiple areas. I'm the same way. And so we get asked all the time, how do you do it all? We don't actually do it all. That's the little secret nobody knows. So here are some of our favorite tips for managing your time and being more productive. Planning ahead, for me, is huge. I have a 5-year plan. I have a 1-year plan. I have brainstormed out content for my sites, and I will sit for an hour and brainstorm dozens and dozens and dozens of article or even ebook ideas and break those into series because I'm not usually able to sit at the computer for an hour and a half and think, what am I going to write about now? And surf Facebook for inspiration and then spend 20 minutes on Twitter. If I have to put a blog post up, I have kids and they're fixing to come through the office door and interrupt me for something. Even if my husband's home, it's like the closed door is a signal to them to come and ask something of me. I have very limited time. When you have planned ahead, you are able to take any amount of time that you have and be stepping forward towards your process. Whether it's you only get 1 day a week, if you have a goal and you have the steps outlined for achieving that goal, then it might take you a little bit longer. But every time you sit down to work, you are moving forward in a productive manner. You're making progress towards your goal.
As with setting goals, for me, I'll let you in on my big goal. We've been homeschooling using a virtual charter school for the past few years. So this is on top of everything else. My goal is to get to the point where I can put them in private school. Every post, everything I do is a step towards freedom for me. But it doesn't have to be goals like that. It can also be goals such as increasing my traffic by 10% this month. How am I going to do that? Will I be working to spend more time figuring out how to increase my site's visibility in Facebook after all the changes in the edge rank? Or am I figuring out how to do more sharing through sites like Pinterest, because I've noticed that I'm getting a lot of traffic through that. It can be working on setting monetary goals. Can I increase my site's income by 10%? All of these small goals that I set, they're cumulative in nature. Can I write 30 posts this month?
One of my biggest tips is to keep what you've taken on manageable. Which is kind of ironic coming from me because I have so much going on. But when I am looking at taking on a new goal, I will often reassess, or a new project, I will often reassess what I have going on. And I call it focus through elimination. I didn't get the bit.ly in the slide. It's in the notes. It's bit.ly/blogworldexpo, BWE focus. And it'll take you to a post where I explain my process of, there was a time when I had so much going on that I was neglecting other things that were important to me, other priorities, my family, my kids, my husband, bless his heart. And I literally took a spreadsheet, took a paper, and I folded it in half. And on one side, I put the things that I loved to do, the projects that I had, the commitments that I had made that I loved. And on the other side, I put the things that I was doing that made me money. And then I went through the list and I looked to see what was the same. Where was something that I really enjoyed also making me money? And how could I maximize that to free up my time for other things? When I started, I could not afford to outsource. So I had to focus every extra time on building up enough of a residual income that I'm able to take my money from one thing, outsource something else, and free myself up from the things that other people could do for me, to focus on the things that had to be me. When I'm doing a screencast, that has to be me. When I'm writing my ebook, it has to be me, it has to be my words. Like, that's my philosophy. So being able to give up and look and see where there was no passion, there was no money, there was no actual benefit to me, crossed it off my list. And I sent 3 emails that next week, and I said, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm no longer going to be writing here. I'm no longer going to be working here. Whatever, do you need another week to train someone else? Do you need me to bring someone else? Here's 2 other people I know who could do this for you and would do an amazing job. And sometimes you can give up something that's good, that you hate, in order to take on something that is fabulous and you love. So don't be afraid to let go and free yourself up, to set yourself up to be able to move forward towards those goals that are important to you. Once you've delineated what's important to you, then you have to figure out, how am I going to make the time to make that happen?
And don't forget, you can always give up TV. I've got friends who are like, well, how do you do it? I was like, well, we haven't had TV since we moved to Charleston, and that was back in 2004. Like, oh, well, we watched this. If you spend 3 hours a night in front of the tube, you are losing so many opportunities.
That's so true.
What?
Same with our kids. We let them do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. We're actually kind of strict. We only allow TV after school is over on Friday and through the weekend. And it makes a big difference. And they're always, is it a weekend? Is it a weekend? But, and if the weather's nice, I still can't watch TV because I'm mean. But another item is to use a timer. Sometimes the hardest part of a project is getting started, because when I was writing the book, I had an outline and it was already ready to go, but I had to make progress on it, and I sat there and I was just overwhelmed by the entire process of it. It was too huge of a project. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write 10 minutes, and if that's only a paragraph, then that's only a paragraph. If it's only a sentence, it's only a sentence. But each of those paragraphs and each of those sentences that I put in these short chunks of time that I was able to whittle out added up to the book that is actually doing pretty well. And sometimes it's just giving yourself permission to quit that allows you to get started. And it's amazing what you could do when you focus on that one task.
I love the timer. And what she was talking about earlier about getting with a partner, if you have a big project, get somebody that you can sprint with. I call them sprints or writing sprints. And the two of you go for 45 minutes. Boom, go, check in 45 minutes. And then at the end of the 45 minutes, you know that you're going to be checking in with that person and saying, okay, I wrote 1,000 words. Okay, I wrote 800 words. You know, oh, good job. Or, you know, I edited this post and I fixed this post. Oh, good job. You know, and it's that chunk of time, just
Right.
dedicated time.
Because you don't want to admit that you actually had Facebook open in the other tab. And yeah, it keeps you focused.
Keeps you focused, yeah. Timer is a good slave master. I'm a huge fan of delegation. Whenever possible, I don't do it often enough. It's my biggest weakness. One of them. It's a weakness. I have a lot of weaknesses. But delegating can be very freeing when you consider what do you need to do and what can someone else do for you. And then start evaluating that in terms of time. If I can write a blog post in an hour, that's worth $100. It's a sponsored post. But I'm spending 2 hours cleaning my house, and I could pay someone $10 an hour to do that, then that doesn't make sense. From a math perspective, from an anything perspective,
Somebody for $10 an hour to clean your house.
in Oklahoma. I live in Oklahoma.
They're also called teenagers.
They're also called teenagers. My 7-year-old, he'll be 7 on the 15th. He can sweep and vacuum now because I took the time to teach him and train him. He you know, he's pretty funny because we called him in and told him he was doing such a great job around the house. We were going to start paying him a certain amount. And he's like, you know, I really think that that's a $4 job, Mom. So he's already negotiating. And he's right, it totally was. So yeah, he gets a certain amount per week, and we're teaching him to save, spend, and tithe, and so he's got his little piggy banks. But delegating to your children, to your spouse, to somebody else that maybe you have a friend that you've helped out in the past. Our MOPS group will do like babysitting swaps where, you know, my husband and I will watch this person's child so they can go have a date night 1 month, and then the next month they'll watch our kids so we can go have a date night, and there's no money exchange there. It's just, you know, we're helping them out one time and they're helping us out one time. Sometimes you can do that with a friend, and they'll edit your post, and then, you know, when they have a project or an ebook going on, and they'll say, hey, can I send this over to you for a second set of eyes because I'm dying here, you know, will you look at it? And then you'll help them out when you have time. So delegation doesn't always have to be monetary. It doesn't always have to be physical. Sometimes it can be a service, and it can be over the internet. And I can say, oh, my God, Heather, will you please look at this for me? Tell me what's wrong.
And then with prioritizing, I always look at it as there are the musts and the shoulds, and then the if I have times. And this goes in so many different aspects of life. It's, you know, you must take care of the kids. This is just not optional. Or DSS gets involved.
Again.
Yeah, it's the have to eat. You have to do some basics of cleaning. You have to, you know, you don't want to live in a slum. But you have to figure out what is most important. Is it most important to go through your emails right now, or is it time to finish whatever your article is due? You have to understand that just because an email arrives right now doesn't make it a priority. You still have 24 hours, 48 hours to respond. Just because somebody is calling you, you don't have to answer the phone because maybe what you're working on right now is more important. You always want to make sure, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. Just keep track of what's important for running your life professionally as well as your life personally. You're doing this so that you can be home, so don't forget that they are a priority too.
One of the things that we had talked about earlier is that balance shifts. And sometimes when you're up against a book deadline, or I'm finishing an ebook that I told everyone is launching July 1st, and oh yeah, it's, June 28th, then that's a time when you can say, okay, my kids need to eat, but it can be mac and cheese and pizza delivery tonight, because that's what needs to happen in order for me to finish this and get it out the door on time. But then there are the times when my kids have soccer practice and soccer games, and oh yeah, more soccer practices, and oh yeah, I have 2 kids in soccer, so it's not one set of all of that, it's 2 sets of all of that. And maybe I'll answer your email on my iPhone, and maybe you won't hear from me until Monday. And that's okay, because that is a time when my family needs more time. When I take 2 weeks off maternity leave, that's okay. My professional, I'll make sure that things are taken care of before I leave, and then I can devote more time to family when that's needed. And then when there's times when professionally it's more demanding, I need to dedicate more hours that week, I've got some equity built in with my husband, built in with my kids, that we can do that. So don't expect it to be where you can always say, okay, 20 hours this day, this, and this time it's this much, over here, because that changes depending on what you have going on, depending on the season. Or
when I was writing the book, and it's on home economics, and it's about cleaning and cooking and all of the things about being, a good...
You should have heard her guilt trips.
It was horrible. I cried. I had to order pizza, and my house is a wreck. And, it happens. We're human. You just have to figure out what's more important. And at that time, finishing on the deadline was more important professionally than making sure that every meal was home cooked.
Exactly. And that's okay. And that balance shifted once your book was turned into the editor and you didn't touch it for a month.
Right.
Then you could cook meals again and not feel guilty, and I didn't have to hear about it on Skype.
Exactly.
Finding the golden nuggets of time. I have this thing. You cannot wait for the perfect time to do something. You just have to do it when you can do it. If I waited for the perfect time to write, the idyllic cabin and a hot cup of coffee and, oh, the cat purring by the fireplace, oh my gosh, that would never happen, right? I live in Oklahoma and I have 4 kids, and they're in and out, and I'm lucky to get 5 minutes on the computer. When I know what I'm going to write about, back to her thing about setting goals, back to what I was talking about planning ahead, I can knock out 100 words in 5 minutes. No problem. Leave the tabs open on your computer, go change a diaper, come back, and when you have 5 more minutes, write another 100 words. And by the end of the day, you'll have your blog post, the image will be in, it'll be formatted, titled, SEO'd, ready to go. And they'll say, how did you get a post up today? And you're like, seriously, I don't even know. But there it is, it's done. Don't be afraid to maximize that commercial break's worth of time for yourself. You will never have the perfect opportunity to write. You'll never have the perfect chance to finish the book. It'll never be convenient. It'll never be easy. But if you will squeeze as much as possible out of your day, you can accomplish so much in just little amounts of times that'll add up. And,
Well, there are moments, I always include what I call buffer time if I have to take the kids somewhere, because it always takes longer. You always hit every single red light when you're 5 minutes late. And so I always leave ridiculously early, and my husband teases me about this, but I bring a notebook, I have my phone, and these moments where I am 10 minutes early, that is fantastic, especially if I'm by myself, because I can knock out emails, I can work on a post. And it's only because I was making sure that I was going to be on time for an appointment, which is just another mark of being professional, showing up and valuing somebody else's time.
I have outlined entire article series or ebooks sitting in the car while we were driving on a road trip, and my husband was driving, and so I didn't have to drive. And I would just get my notebook out. And then once I had the entire outline done, I can do that on my computer, but then it was really easy to take that to a computer. So, carry a notebook with you. I carry mine. I buy steno pads in bulk at Sam's Club.
And then set your boundaries. Turn off the computer at night. Once you're tired to the point where you're not really being coherent anymore,
Pepper.
Oh. No, it doesn't work that way. There just comes a point where you're just hurting yourself by continuing to push at it. Go to bed. Start over. Get up earlier to finish whatever it is. You will be better having the rest. Know that it's okay to let an email wait until tomorrow. And nights and weekends, if that's what you need, turn them off. Make some time special and where you're not actually sitting with your phone the entire time. I need to be better about this. But really, your kids are aware that you're checking Facebook every 5 minutes, they're checking your tweets or your email or whatever it is that has you attached to the phone. They are aware that you're not fully present.
For me, the boundaries are a little bit different because of my husband's work schedule. He works overnights. And so we have breakfast together as a family every morning, and I try really hard to make sure, I don't turn the computer on in the morning until he's eaten. We've had that time to check in. It's the end of his day. It's the start of mine. We're getting the kids ready for the day. When he goes to bed and the kids and I are doing what we're doing, and I've got them started on school or on their chores, or they're running amok in the backyard torturing the goats. We have goats. I live in Oklahoma. Then I can turn on the computer and start my thing. And I'll tell people, you probably won't hear from me until 10 o'clock. And that's that time that I protect so that we can have family together and be present for each other. We all need that time. If that means whatever it is that feeds your soul, you need something that feeds you as a person. Figure out what that is. If you don't know what that is, make it a priority if you know what that is and you're not doing it. It can be really simple. Like, I treat myself to a new book every month. That feeds me professionally, feeds me as a person. It keeps me fresh. It keeps me learning. It keeps me motivated. Whatever it is that feeds you, protect that. That's important to you, and it's necessary for you to be able to do this long term, that reliability she was talking about. You don't want to just die and burn out. You have to be able to sustain it long term.
And sometimes I do something that's pretty silly, but I just grab a book and a Dr. Pepper, and I now hired a babysitter because it was something that became necessary. My husband works rotating shifts.
Delegation.
Yeah, it's awesome. But I'm like, look, I have to take a sanity break. And I go and I take my Dr. Pepper and a book, and I go sit in the Walmart parking lot with the windows up and quiet. And that way I have a little bit of sanity time. Protect the sanity. It's important.
So here are some of our favorite tools and resources in terms of practical things that we use on a regular basis to be able to delegate effectively, to be able to work,
Communicate.
Travel, whatever, make things happen. Dropbox. If you are not using Dropbox, it's very helpful. You can put documents in there, share it with somebody else, or images. If you're working with a team that's kind of across a distance, they can open a file, edit that document, and those changes will update in your Dropbox as well. And so you can see what they're doing. She can say, Angela, I need an image for this post. This is the image I need for the stock site that Blissfully Domestic uses. And I can download that, stick it in the Dropbox, and she can access it when she's able.
You can also use it to work between two computers. I know there's other things like go to my PC, but Dropbox is extremely simple. I use it because I have a laptop that I only use for when I'm traveling, and I have a desktop at home. But this way I can access all my files that I need. I put all of the photos and stuff I plan on using there, and so I can just grab them wherever I am.
When I switched to Dropbox, I was able to stop emailing myself everything.
And they're not paying us.
No, they're not paying. Like I think I don't even pay. I'm still on the free.
Yeah.
Like it's free up to a certain amount, and I just periodically clean out my Dropbox from projects I'm no longer active with. And if you are not part of Dropbox, I think maybe you need an invite. And my email is ange.england@yahoo.com, and let me know, and I'll send you an invitation, and you can join.
I use Google Voice in addition to my cell phone for a business line. This is a number that isn't attached to me geographically. Yes, it's my area code, but I can have it up on my website as a way for me to contact. And if somebody calls, it doesn't matter. It's just Google Voice. Not only that, it gives me free texting, which I have Verizon, and otherwise I'd be paying 20 cents a text. So it's really simple. You can forward calls. You can forward calls to whatever cell phone you want.
Oh,
so
I
even
didn't know that.
Oh, absolutely. You can also put it on Do Not Disturb. You can set up different greetings. I love this because I can have a greeting for friends and family, greeting for people who if you're not in my contact list, you get a completely separate greeting.
Because you have the phone number on your website, right?
I do, yes.
Like a tip, they can call in and ask questions.
If they're going to call in with a question, I tell them they have 2 minutes, and that would be somebody who is not in my contact list contacting me. But if they are in my contact list, they get the "Hi, this is Heather Solos. I can't reach the phone right now."
Cool. Yeah, that's why she's talking about that, because that's something she uses. We use Google Docs a lot. Again, it's a way to share that across a network of people, and you can access it from multiple locations. You log into your account and you can access it anywhere you can get the internet. So that's a very helpful way when you're working on a collaborative project or client project. You can have some of your creatives in there and the client can access that. With Google Docs, I like it because you can have different settings. So if it's something that I want to push out to my editors or push out to a group of people for them to view, then they have access to view it but not edit it. If it's something that we're working on collaboratively, I can give them access on a more higher level where they can edit it, get in there, mess around with it, and we can actually be brainstorming or have them contribute to what's going on. So that's a very helpful tool.
And then email filters, they're incredibly helpful. I go ahead and have a couple of filters set up to pull out the most common words that I get in the Dear Miss Blogger, Dear Miss. Any of these, they all go into a filter, and I'll look at them once a week, maybe, because really it's going to be a bunch of pitches for, hey, you really want to write about our sardines, don't you? I got one the other day for, what was it? It was really bad. It was something to do with a microbial toilet cleaner. Yeah, and I'm not going to waste my time when I need to be responding to more important emails wading through this. I've also been working on trying to adopt a policy of touching an email once. If I see it, and if I pick it up with my phone, I need to answer it from my phone instead of just starring it and saving it for later. That is a really bad habit I've gotten into. Let's see, what else is another filter? I actually really like, with Gmail, they have a couple of built-in filters that you can use, and one of them is bulk, and that goes ahead and pulls out a lot of the garbage, and you don't even see it in your main inbox. Go ahead and turn it on, see if it works. You can always go back.
And Gmail has labels, too. So if there's a project going on that is specific to one item, I'll put a label on it. That way I can find those emails later if it's like a document that I'll need access to, or login registration, for Blog World Expo, and I need to have the shuttle information, but I didn't print it off at that time. Label it, find it later. It's really easy that way. Another tool is to have a day planner. I have both a hard day planner and one online that we use in our family called Cozy. I can update Cozy on my computer, and it will update on my husband's Droid. And they have apps. So he can look and add his work schedule in from work for the next 3 weeks. And then when a client calls and they need a conference call, I'm able to really quickly look at my Cozy and see when he's working, when he's off. Okay, if I schedule it for a day off, he'll be able to take the kids away, and I can actually have a professional conversation without kids screaming in the background. So, then I'm able to say to a client, I'm available this day or this day, which is more convenient for you. and then put it in the thing. When he looks at his calendar on his phone because somebody wants to go somewhere and they want to go to a ball game and hang out, he can see, okay, Angela's got something scheduled, the kids have a soccer game. It'll have everybody's thing right on there.
It's color-coded too, right?
Do what?
It's color-coded, right?
Yeah, color-coded by person, so it's really easy to see your family for the week. You can have it set up to send you alarms, so if you're wanting to do a Twitter chat or you're needing to be somewhere at a certain time, it'll ping my phone automatically, send me a text and say, Brianna has a soccer practice in 30 minutes. And then I'll be able to say, okay, time to close down the computer, get my daughter ready for soccer. And it's kind of that timer mentality, but it's that automatic alarm built in. It works across my computer, my phone, and then I translate that in my day planner once a week.
Google
coordinate.
Calendar actually has a lot of this functionality too, and that's the one I use. It's a
Yeah.
little bit more, I don't know, it's not as user-friendly, it's a little bit putsy, but if you fiddle with it enough, you get it. Yes, you can.
Yeah. Okay, and then the other thing we use is Skype.
We use Skype constantly, but don't be afraid to set up the away button, the away setting. It's free. We don't use it so much for voice calls very often, or voice or video chat. Typically, we just have it open, and it's just a chat client, and we use it for group chats to collaborate. We coordinate meetings on this. We also use it as a safe place to vent.
To do the sprints and
Yep.
work on projects, you can send files through Skype, which is a nice feature. If you're not wanting to necessarily email, like you just have it and drag and drop it into the chat and it'll automatically send it to Heather. Or even if she's not there, like it'll just be waiting for her. If she stepped away to go deal with a child, I can still be saying what I'm saying and she'll come back and it'll just pick right up. So we use Skype a lot just because it's really easy and accessible.
Yep.
And it hangs out at the bottom of my thing and tells me when someone's talking to me.
Mom, your computer's beeping at you again. Yeah.
My kids love Skype. They're like, will you call a friend and let me talk to him so they can see my face? So that's pretty much it. I don't know if yeah, there we go. We have a little bit of time for questions and answers. If you have a question or a comment or something that you've used that's been really helpful, because these are the tools that we use on a regular basis. You might have something else that you've used that's just fabulous. The microphone is where you need to be. Does anybody have a question or comment or? Yeah.
Thank you.
Nobody ever wants to be first.
Hi. I'm kind of, I would say I'm new to blogging. I actually started out in the web design world in the late 90s. And so now I'm taking on the social media, and I'm doing, the Twitter and the Facebook and the blogging, and I'm maintaining it for many different companies. And so I guess my question is with your blogging, because you're so successful at it, I mean, it's like your niche, where I'm like, I have my hands everywhere. I don't quite have a niche yet. How is it that you make money off of your blogging besides the writing? Because you're writing, right, and you're making money because you're being paid by other people who see you as experts?
Right. In different ways. Sometimes it's sponsored posts or sponsored conversation. Initially, I was purely service. I wrote articles for people. I was a freelance writer, pay per hire. And now I have, info products, ebooks that I've written to help others kind of get there. And sometimes I still do not really hourly work because I hate hourly pay. I tend to do per project. So if I'm doing I have a client, I'm getting them set up on Facebook, or I'm creating a social media strategy platform for them, then that's something that I would charge for.
What about on your actual sites? I mean, are you bringing revenue with Google advertising based on your traffic? Are you guys?
I am, yes.
That's how you're, because I took a look at your website, so that's how you're bringing revenue in. And is all of your content original out of your own head? Because you did a post on Thanksgiving, getting ready for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So everything is out of your own head? Because that's another thing I struggle too, is content curation, just trying to find it, trying to create it, and so many different industries that I service. So you claim it all as your own, or do you borrow or credit other?
No, with what you're saying, it sounds to me like when we were talking earlier about narrowing your focus, it sounds like to me, and this is how I'm interpreting what you're saying, is that you're overwhelmed by what you're trying to do. It sounds
I'm
like
overwhelmed, and I'm barely making it. And
Right.
so yes, I mean, I have to take that into consideration, that I need to cut a piece of the pie out and then
Yeah.
just more focus.
I
But
have-
even when I get down to that focused area, and I start working on, let's say, my blogging for the real estate industry, so how am I going to potentially make money off of that in the future? I mean, can I start implementing advertising on our blog? I guess that's what I'm looking at I guess bringing in revenue for all this work that I'm putting out there.
Right. Yeah. I have advertising on Unchained Housewife. AngieEngland.com. It didn't make sense to have AdSense because I have so much there that I want people to either buy something from an affiliate that I'm affiliated with, or one of my ebooks, because I'm making a lot more that way than 50 cents if they click the ad.
Right.
I would say one of the things is don't be afraid if you're dealing with specific areas. If your goal is to get the client set up to a certain level and build their website, and you aren't passionate about real estate, you're passionate about social media, and you're working with a client who's in real estate, hire a writer who understands real estate and can do that content for you. So you're charging the client, X amount to maintain their blog per month, and you're outsourcing the writing part of it, and then you're just focusing on the social media community part. You're getting the articles every month from your writer, and you're putting that in there.
So the resource to find the writer is your recommendation? I've heard of
I can probably
Odesk.
help you with that. Like, seriously, email me. I know tons of freelance writers
Okay.
because they come to my blog, so.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that that's an important part of what she's saying is it goes back to that eliminate what you are not passionate about or skilled in personally so that you can focus primarily on where you are. And if, you're charging X amount a month to do the blog and do the website and do the social media, then you're only outsourcing just the small little bit. But you're able to focus so much on making that really successful because you've eliminated the part that was just overwhelming you, killing you, and taking too much time, too much energy, too much focus, where you're not skilled. Focus where your strength is, where your skill set is, monetize that to the max, and then get some help with the other stuff. Any other questions? That's a great question. I think we've all been there. Yeah, no, that's good, because I had the same struggle. There's a lot of things that I'm very interested in, very passionate about, and I tend to kind of spread that around. I have certain things now that I only write about on AngieEngland.com. I used to talk about, my kids or my family or, being a soccer mom. I don't do that there. That's not what people are there to read. They're there to find out how to make money online, how to be a freelance writer, what it means when this company says all electronic rights. What does that mean? And so, that's where I talk about that. And I have somewhere else that I talk about the other stuff. Heather's guest posted on my site on AngieEngland.com when she had something to say about blogging and a situation that happened with her with blogging because it wasn't a fit for her site. It didn't go there, and it didn't make sense for it to go there, so she came and found a place where she could express that.
Right. My readers are there to learn about their house. They don't care about content theft. It's just the way it is.
Right. And, if you have multiple websites, then just, that's where that would go. Anybody else have any questions about productivity, professionalism, or making money online?
When you do,
In December. December 15th. So, thank you. Duet?
Christmas baby.
I know. We're looking at calling her Vivian Noel, because how often could you name a baby with the middle name Noel and it would make sense? So, yeah. Thank you. I guess that's it.
you.
And that's where you can find us on Twitter. So